7:01. We'll call our meeting to order. It's the Town of Southington Board of Finance meeting, and today is July 29th, 2026. This particular meeting, we're at the John Weichel Municipal Center and not the Town Hall because of a scheduling overlap. And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's been a month since our last meeting, and very sad to report that one of our active seated members passed away. Edward Pocock Jr., who we affectionately called E2 because he has a whole family involved in community service, has passed away after a very brief illness, and very much a shock to us who have worked with him for a long time. He was appointed to the Board of Board of Finance in 2010 and served alongside of us for a very, very long time. He did his work. He was a lot of times our ears on the ground. He drove the Calendar House Senior Shuttle. He would bring us like the voice of the people, and he had some time on his hands in town, so he would tell us a lot of things that were going on, and it was just insightful, but I guess I'll make Joe smile too. He was also funny. There were times when dealing with him was very humorous, and he'd make us laugh, and he would laugh. He was happy to have made us laugh. So we miss him, and we'll go into a moment of silence in just a moment, but he was also a police officer and rose to the level of lieutenant in Southington, and then he also used to mow the high school. He used to have a job, a lawn mowing business. He would mow all those big fields at the high school. So he was served on building committees. I can't go on and on. Everybody who knows him knows that he was everywhere, and the Pocock name has a long history of service in town, from him starting it and leading the family to his son, who served as town council member and chair for a while, who was also a police lieutenant and retired at captain, and did a lot of things in town, a lot of good things. And then his granddaughter, we called her E4, Erica, who had served the town also in different capacities. But Ed has inspired not only his own family, but a lot of people to serve and to try to do their best for someone else, or as I always say, the common good, but try to do their best and have in Ed's honor, have a little fun doing it. So I'll just ask everybody for a little moment of silence for Ed, his family. Thank you. It still is very much a shock to that it happened so quickly, and he was an active member. He was a seated member. Going on, we'll do the roll call. Well, let's do the roll call, and then we'll move on.
Mr. Lebenek?
Here.
Mr. Britton?
Here.
Mr. Bodoni? Absent. Mr. Salerno? Absent. Ms. Wade?
Present.
Chair Larry?
Here. So we have a quorum, but the public should know we do have a contested issue, so I just want to put it out there so it's not a secret. So Mr. Pocock passed away. Town council, in consultation with the town attorney, made an appointment, and they appointed Mr. Rob Britton to fill the vacancy left by Edward Pocock. There are some challenges currently in play on whether it was the town council's appointment to make. There was a ruling by the town attorney. There was a lot of discussion held at the council level on it, and council believes, based upon all that, that they were proper in making the appointment. Mr. Britton resigned from the Planning and Zoning Commission. He was elected unanimously. All 9 members of the town council elected him to this position, or appointed him to this position, and then he was sworn in by the town clerk, and so he's a seated member, but it just should be known that there is a a contest, a contention against that being raised. So letting you know that that is out there, and that'll get resolved. That'll have to sort itself. Town council made the appointment, so it will sort itself at town council, and I believe town council once again take up the issue. The issue has, as far as I'm aware, the issue has nothing to do with Mr. Britton himself. It has to do with the process and the charter and where the authority for the appointment lies. I believe that's the crux of it. Who had the authority? If, Ms. Wade, do you want to add anything to that? But it's about where the authority lies. So just put that out there, that that is occurring now as we sit. But since the appointment has been made, I'm going to proceed as if Rob Britton is a full-fledged appointed member of the board as the rest of us until, if and until anything were to change on that. But all internal, Alex, all internal town council, town attorney are all saying everything was done proper. Is that your understanding?
And as well as the town clerk.
As well as the town clerk. So, something being sorted. Want to just make it clear. Okay. Old business, the approval of the minutes of June 17th. We may not have the majority to do that, to approve those minutes. We'll have to table that one. So I'll ask for the tabling of the approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
A motion and a second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have to table the approval. That just makes the minutes official, and it searches for any errors or corrections in them, but we'll table that. There was also some discussion around the funding of the state grant that came up. So what had happened was Board of Finance finished their work in April on the budget and passed the recommended budget to town council. And then after that point, the state of Connecticut came through with a grant of $833,994, just happened to be our number when the state allocated money for education. And they alerted the town of Southington that the town of Southington would receive that grant. And town council looked at it, and I believe, and didn't read it, get too involved at all because our work was finished. But the grant said something to the effect of, if your budget is completed and your work is done, you will take that money and appropriate, and tell me if I'm wrong here, you will take that money and you will appropriate it to your Board of Ed in addition to whatever you agreed the budget to be. But if your budget is still open and hadn't been decided, you can do with the grant as your governing body decides, something to that nature. So town council wanted to do something, and their action was to withhold the town funding in that same amount. I'll call it 833, but it's really 833,994. But to withhold the 833 from the Board of Ed, and then when the grant was received in the new fiscal year, which started July 1 this year, we would receive the money and then appropriate that money to the Board of Ed, so that we take away the town's money and we give the Board of Ed the state's money. Does it make a difference? No. But it just showed a direct connection or a direct chain of custody of the funds from the state to the Board of Ed, and then they withheld the town funds in the budget. Two actions that occurred, and they brought attention to the fact that the mill rate went down favorably. The number is 833,994. So they went ahead and credited revenue and they debited accounts receivable, which was the proper accounting. There's no other way to do it. And when they did that, when they credited revenue, which is an increase to revenue, there was a decrease to taxes needed, and they got a favorable 0.12 to the mill rate because taxes needed went down because they got the state money. Okay. town council, in trying to do this like chain of custody with the money, instead of doing nothing at all, town council said, let us reduce the Board of Ed budget by 833, and then when the money comes in, or in the new fiscal year, Board of Finance will give them the 833 from the state. So in other words, replace the town's 833 with the state's 833. Well, when they did that, guess what? It was a reduction to expense, another good guy to the mill rate. The budget was then turned around, given back to the Board of Finance, because only the Board of Finance could set the mill rate. So town council comes with the town council adopted budget and says, here's your budget. We sat down, checked the math, and with a unanimous, there were only 5 of us here at the time, Mr. Lebenik was not here, with a 5-0 vote, we voted for the mill rate that we went forward with, the mill rate we approved. During that meeting, we didn't have this discussion, nor did we have a discussion on other bridged items from what the town council did after they took our budget. So they had a book look like this called the Board of Finance budget. They did their thing, and then they handed us back the town council budget. Lesson learned for me or for this board going forward is probably we should really get into having a bridge and saying, we gave you a budget of X, you gave us back a budget of Y. What were the differences? Can we walk through them from what we gave you to what you gave us back? Because in that budget, there was some self-insurance stuff. There was a reduction to an administrative assistant in the fire department. There was a delay of the assistant fire chief, the hiring to save a little bit of money, and some other stuff. But we did not take the time in our meeting, and maybe that was my fault as the chair, but we didn't take the time in that meeting to really shake out all of those items. But we did get it. We did get them. We got the book. We got the numbers. Well, we just didn't bring it to the point of a discussion. We weren't blind to it. It was all handed to us. It was given to us on a sheet. We all had the sheet. But we didn't bring up the issues and kind of walk through them. So therefore, we didn't walk through this thing. So the piece that's missing now is we're in the new fiscal year. July 1 started it. And now tonight or now, we should take action to give the Board of Ed the 833 that we got from the state. So in a moment, I'll ask for a motion to appropriate 833,994 from the general fund to the Board of Ed. But another thing I didn't know, sometimes if things are going smooth, everything's fine, but sometimes when you drain the water in the pond, all the stumps and rocks start to stick out. So one thing I didn't know was that the Board of Ed, in their internal workings, they have their own finance committee, and they could only work off of the number, I don't know if that's policy, choice, state law, they could only work off the number that was approved for them for the year. So right now, the budget that was approved for them is the budget that we gave them, plus a few other adjustments, but the 833 was pulled out. So they're working with a starting point of a budget that's 833 lower than where it should be. Now, very simply, I said, if I was over there, I would just put a receivable in from the town, bump the number back up, and that's my budget. But they don't work that way. They have to work from the number that the authority of the town gave them, which is 833 short. So, but we do realize that the third action that was not done is this board has to take the 833 from the state. I don't know if we got it yet or it's still a receivable. Still a receivable. We don't even have the money, but that's fine, we'll get it. We have to take the 833 from our general fund, when it gets there, and appropriate it to the Board of Ed. Then Mr. Oshana, Mr. Medancy, Ms. Millette, the Board of Ed will then be happy and say, okay, good. Now our starting point is where it is. They're not thrilled about it because we reduced the request. But they'll say, okay, we're where we think we should be, and then they can go off and plan the year. If we fail to give them the 833, they're $833 short, and all of their plans have to include a balanced budget, so they will have to take some action in the work papers that may not take in reality, but they have to make the work papers agree to the budget town council gave them, which does not include the 833. I hope I clarified that right, but I will take it as criticism personally that in the future, anybody who sits in the chair role should get a roll forward, which we had, in the stuff, but should take that roll forward, put it on the agenda, and make sure that everybody got comfortable with what were the movements after we gave the town council the Board of Finance's recommended budget. What did they do with it? And we did not do that. And I'll take responsibility for not engaging in that discussion to the point where it was clear, because we left it unclear. In fact, I wasn't even, at that moment aware of it. I'd been traveling, a lot of excuses. But if we put it in the agenda going forward, we get it right. And that's, so we have to entertain a motion to give the Board of Ed the money from the state. And we can do that now, even though it's a receivable on the town side. We can make the motion to appropriate it, and then we'll get it eventually. I don't think there's any doubt we're going to get it, right? Jackie's smiling. It's coming. It's in the mail. We're going to check the mail tomorrow. Big check will be in the mail. So I will ask for that motion, and during that motion, of course, we'll have discussion, some further discussion, if anybody would like to discuss further. So I just ask for the motion to appropriate 833,934 to the Board of Ed for fiscal year 26-27 from the general fund.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Now discussion. Any?
I guess I'm all for moving the money over to Board of Ed, but this doesn't resolve our mill rate issue, correct? Because
You look at the mill rate, it's rightly so that when you look at the mill rate, there are two good guys in it, or two reductions of 0.12. They are in there. And when you look at it, you shake your head. You say, why twice? Why two? It's valid. Because even in the emails, my emails were FOIA'd and all of this, and everybody's emails on the issue, because people were trying to say, who knew what? What was this? In my emails, I said, it should be once. It doesn't make sense. You got 1,833, not two. But when you go through the actions, we received the revenue, credited revenue, that reduces taxes needed and made the mill rate favorable. Then when town council said, let me reduce the money, the town money, to the Board of Ed, that also made the mill rate another notch, 0.12 favorable. The piece that's not in the mill rate now is us taking the money from the state and giving it to the Board of Ed, which we have to do. It's part of the trifecta here, the three pieces, three legs of the stool. But the third leg doesn't affect the mill rate. So we shake our head and say, why two favorables in the mill rate?
I guess I'm more curious about the breakdown on it. So my understanding from the emails is that you were aware, the town council was aware, I think Alex was made aware that we knew this before we took the vote, correct? I mean, just from the
I'm a
reading of the emails.
little fuzzy. I mean, I know I made the statement the mill rate should go down once. That's a statement I made, and I own that statement.
Well, that you recognize that the error had been made is how I
I
read the
don't
email.
know that it's an error, and I also don't know, sitting here, if at that moment, a lot of conversation was occurring, but at the moment of the mill rate setting, I did not believe we had any error. I still don't. I think we have a weird situation, but I don't sit here and say we have an error, because when I break it down, I could explain it. I don't call it an error. I call it an oddity.
Right, but we were aware of it before the vote was taken.
We all had the same information.
Well, we didn't have the same, we had the same like aggregate
Yeah.
information, but someone had pointed out to you, right? That my understanding is our finance director was aware, like, found the error, that a finance director from another town was contacted to make sure that.
They were asked
Yeah.
to shake it out. I think town
Right.
council asked finance to kind of shake it out and ask questions.
And so I guess I'm asking, that all happened, and maybe Alex, maybe you would know, that all happened before we took the vote on the mill rate?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was discussion regarding that, but the one thing I will say is, and our auditors here, so, and I'm not a finance guru, the bigger issue was this money wasn't budgeted for in the budget. So finance had to bring it as a revenue. I don't know legally if they could have brought it in as revenue and not recognized it. So I think more it's in the way you're forced to recognize it in accounting. But again, our auditors here, I'm not
Sure,
going to
but-
opine, but
Yeah, but we were all, some of us were aware that this was happening before the vote.
At the vote, I would say that there may have been emails, but I had been traveling. I was not aware at the time we voted. If I had known, I would have said, we got to have a discussion on this, even if I came to the same conclusion. And now I looked at this 45 times since then.
Right.
But at that moment, I was not aware. I said, is everybody okay? Is everybody good? It's all on video. And we all kind of nodded. I did not, at that moment, wasn't aware because I had just come home from Switzerland from a business trip. Prior to that, I was in the Philippines. I was not dwelling on this. And when Chrissy brought her laptop over to where I was sitting, we looked at the number just to make sure the math was right. And I said, yeah, the math, you take the total taxes needed divided by the grand list. We had the right grand list, the right taxes needed. I looked at it and said, yeah, it's good. Everybody kind of looked at me. I nodded. I still don't call it an error. I call it like an oddity, an odd thing because of the way it played out. But that's all.
could I just interject quickly, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
The only thing that I think could have been done differently is to artificially exaggerate the mill rate to make up for it, so we would overtax the residents over and above the budget, and then it would have possibly been an artificial washout at the end.
I guess my issue is that we weren't given the opportunity to discuss that it's not about how we could have resolved it. It's that there was information out there that
And I'll
there was
take that
something
as
that needed to be resolved.
I'll take that as a lesson learned, because I think the whole bridge, had we brought forth the whole bridge of, we gave you a budget of X, you gave us back a budget of Y, what were the differences? And if we looked at that closely and it was on the agenda as an item, not something somebody may have been aware of, somebody not, we all had the same book, yes. But if it was something that was on the agenda and we took our rulers out, we went down, so, ooh, look at this, look at this, look at this, it probably would have been better for all of us. So I'll take it as a lesson learned. After 16 years of doing it, I always need a lesson learned, that we should demand a bridge and have a bridge as part of our mill rate setting meeting, a whole bridge discussion. How do we get from what we gave them to what they gave us back? I'll take it as my fault.
And in the future, I think that's great. My issue is honestly, it doesn't feel transparent when you look at the emails and that there was an agreement among people that there was an error, an oddity, whatever you want to call it, and then it wasn't brought forth before we voted.
Yeah, and I didn't agree there was an error, but certainly when we go around and say, is there anything, everybody good, if somebody wasn't, ding, ding, they should raise their hand, but I didn't even raise my hand because at the moment I wasn't tuned into it. But I had been, and I'll admit that, yes, I was in conversations during the process. The day I was flying out to the Philippines, I was on a call where somebody said, that, when Chrissy was asked to call different people and ask them, does this make sense? I was one of the people that got called, and I said, no, it should only be one reduction. It's only 1,833, it should only be one reduction. That was kind of my contribution to it, and we had discussions, and it was everybody, all those discussions in the emails were people just shaking the tree saying, have we got it right? But then it all happened after that, it happened at a town council meeting. This was all ahead of it, saying, does this make sense?
I just want to say, I'm sorry, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. I don't believe it was on the record or transparent for everyone that the error was, we all had access to the information, but the error was spotted by our finance director or.
Well, if there's an error, there has to be a correction. That's why I call it an oddity,
The-
because
the
if it's an
oddity was
error.
spotted.
Yeah, an oddity, yes, and it should have been, the only, when you do remediation, right, you could remediate, you could do root cause corrective action. The true corrective action should be that in the future, we should come forward, whoever's here, whoever is in this role, mill rate setting meeting should have two pieces to it. Review the bridge of the budget given to town council and the one received back, what changed, and then set the mill rate. That piece didn't happen. I'll take responsibility for that. But I do believe that if we were to go back and wave a magic wand and raise the mill rate 0.12, we would then be taxing the people for an additional 833. So we have the state's 833 and the people's 833. That's why I don't consider it an error. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Katie, though. And it's right to point out, it's an oddity, and it's a second oddity, that we had an oddity, and we didn't sit here as a group and discuss it. So the remediation for me, the corrective action would be, let's make sure we have a bridge at mill rate setting time next year, every year. We go through the bridge by detail, by line item detail, what changed, and then move to set the mill rate. And in setting the mill rate, we simply check the math too, make sure that, the fundamental of our job is done. We got the right grand list, the right taxes needed, so. Okay, well, thank you for the discussion. Now we're gonna have the CLA 2025.
We have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have a motion and a second, thank you. Motion and a second we'll do roll call vote because of all the discussion. Motion and a second this is back, I gotta wind a little bit, to give the 833, 934 from general fund to Board of Ed an appropriation for the 2026, 2027 fiscal year.
Mr. Lebenek?
Yes.
Mr. Britton?
Yes.
Mrs. Wade?
Yes.
Chair Larry?
Yes. Okay, it passes 4-0. Guess you guys are now focused a little bit. They're smiling. That's good to see. All right, Clifton Larson Allen, presentation on the 2025. This would be the 2024-2025 year closeout. Leslie, welcome. Yeah, down there. Yeah, this is a new home for us for this meeting, and I hope the microphone's working. And you could just tell everybody who you are, the partner, and
Hi, I'm Leslie Zoll. Can you hear me? Wow, it's loud. Okay.
how'd you like our presentation? You're the finance person on the other side. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'm Leslie Zoll, the principal on the Town of Southington audit. I'm presenting the audit results for fiscal year 6/30/2025. I'm first going to start my agenda by just explaining the scope of our audit, what we do, what we don't do, a high-level result of the audit, some financial statement numbers. I know the ACFR can be voluminous, so I did give you a snapshot of some of the financial statements within the ACFR. I'm going to go through the federal and state single audit. We do have one management letter comment, some required communication, and then some updated GASBs that are coming down for fiscal year 26.
Thank you. Can I ask that you just elaborate a little bit when you get to the point on what is the audit? What does it include and not include? You said you would, but we've been getting a lot of chatter because of other communities, and people are saying you should do an audit. Well, we do an audit. But if you just elaborate a little bit when you get to that spot of what is included in the financial audit and what is not, like you said you do, but just maybe spend another minute or two on that.
Sure, so
Thank
let me
you.
go through my presentation, and then if it doesn't answer your question, I can certainly elaborate.
Okay, thank you, Leslie.
So the main focus of our audit is to audit the financial statements of the town of Southington as they are presented by the finance office and management of the town. So we're looking at these specific numbers at this specific point in time. We express an opinion on whether those numbers that are in the finance office general ledger are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So our focus is primarily on the numbers within those statements. We also express an in relation to opinion on the schedule of federal and state financial assistance as it relates to the financial statements as a whole. Our yellow book requirements also require us to express an opinion on compliance with anything related to those major state and federal programs that we test based on a prescribed risk assessment. We do provide a report on internal control, and if we do find something as we're auditing these numbers, we are required to tell you if there's any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the control structure as it relates to these numbers, but we don't opine on internal control. So other areas outside the purview of these financial statements might not be in the scope of our audit. But we do get an understanding of the internal controls and will report to you any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses as it relates to the financial statements, but also the major state and federal programs that we test. We don't look at every transaction, so our main goal is not to find fraud, but if we're required to tell you if there's any material misstatements that we find during our audit, right? But because we don't look at every transaction throughout the fiscal year, there's always things that will come up that we did not know about during the course of looking at these numbers. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, if you
Is
let
there
me just
something
ask a little
specific?
deeper.
Sure.
So on internal controls, you're not looking at design and design deficiencies,
No,
nor are
we're
you looking
not.
at effectiveness testing. You're just looking, if you find something and say, boy, this looks odd, you would then go back and say, what are the controls around this? But you're not coming in with the goal of saying, do we have design deficiencies or do we have control effectiveness testing deficiencies? Because you're not testing internal controls.
Correct, those are separate audits.
just stumbling on
We do
them.
those consulting engagements, but they are not part of the scope
Okay.
of an audit.
And fraud risk assessment, how much of that do you do or not do? Like,
Again, we do a fraud risk assessment very globally as it relates to the numbers in the financial statements.
okay.
So it's a very narrow scope.
But we
versus a
could
foren-
engage you separately for
Absolutely.
an internal control assessment, right from the fraud risk down to the designed effectiveness, down to the execution effectiveness or the internal control effectiveness.
There
We
is
could
a-
hire you for that.
There's a myriad of services that we could provide the town of Southington if you wish to have those services done. We do
Okay.
forensic audits, we do internal control efficiencies, all that stuff, but they're out of the scope of this.
Okay, maybe the board would, at some point, we'd look into that a little, maybe see what the board's appetite is. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Slide 5, just to give you high-level results of the audit. So on the financial statement piece, you received an unmodified opinion. That's what you'd want to receive each year. That means your financial statements are in accordance with GAAP. The federal single audit and the state single audit were both clean. Their opinions were unmodified. There is no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to report to you, either on the financial statements or the state and federal single audits. Essentially a clean audit overall, something that you have achieved in years past as well. Moving on to slide 7. This is a snapshot of the management's discussion and analysis within the ACFR. I like to show this table because it shows comparatives between 2025 and 2024. This table is on a full accrual basis of accounting, so it includes all of your long-term assets and liabilities. So everything within the town is totaled in this number on a full accrual basis of accounting. The results of the numbers as of 6/30/2025, you have a net position in the governmental activities. So that's everything except for your one enterprise fund. So That net position is 146 million. That's up from 11 million from the previous fiscal year. And then that business type activity column is your one enterprise fund. You had a total net position of 92.4 million, and that's down 2.3 million from the previous fiscal year. I want to next go to the government fund statements. This is usually the fund statements that you would typically work with on a day-to-day basis. These are on a modified accrual basis of accounting. What does that mean? That means that your long-term assets and liabilities are not there, and your revenue recognition is slightly different.
Leslie, are the books kept on a cash basis?
No.
Okay, I thought fund balance accounting, so it is all accrual basis.
So these funds we call modified
Yeah.
accrual versus full accrual, but it's not cash
Okay.
basis, if that helps. Each bucket, if you will, each column on this slide 8 is a fund that we opine on separately. So we opine on each major fund together, and then we opine on the remaining aggregate fund groups. The general fund is always a major fund, so we will always opine on that one general fund. As of 6/30/2025, you'll see total fund balance of 39.7 million. That's down about 480,000 from last year. And I'll go through some of the metrics in a few slides. Coming up, Capital Projects Fund has a fund balance of 5.8 million, increased 3.4 million from last year because you had that issuance of bonds during the year. That third column, Emergency Management, is your ARPA fund. You'll see there in the middle of that column, unearned revenue from the grants. It's 712,000. That's what you haven't yet spent in ARPA as of 6/30. You have till the end of the year to spend those funds. Debt Service Fund, you have a fund balance available at 7.8 million. That's down 76,000 from last year. We have the Ed Grants Fund, a negative 37. That's down 14,000 from last year, and that just has to do with timing of when things are expended and when things come in. And then that non-governmental funds column is accumulation of all your other funds. That went up 352,000 from last year, and you landed fund balance at 9.2.
And is the rainy day is the unassigned, the
Correct.
35,493?
Correct.
Okay.
Moving on to the Sewer Enterprise Fund, that, again, that's the same numbers as the business type activities because you only have one fund in that group. Your net position decreased 2.3 million, as I had mentioned. And then your Internal Service Fund, which is your health benefits, that decreased 1.4 million from last year, and you now have a net position of 5.3. Just some quick metrics for you in terms of the financial statement results. Property taxes remain high at 99.39%. Your general fund unassigned fund balance, as we just mentioned, the 35.4 million, that's 17.7% of your actual year-end general fund revenues. Your unassigned balance from the previous year was 32.9, so that was increased from the prior year. In terms of budgetary results, revenue came in lower than expected by 2.4, but your expenditures came in much lower at 4.9. And then I just want to mention, on the liability side, you guys participate at the MERS program, that your share of the MERS liability is 67.6 million, and currently the MERS is funded at 72.85%. This is up from
Now, is the
last
MERS
year.
for everybody in the state? Like, doesn't the state manage that In
The
totality?
state manages that, so the town of Southington doesn't have control over that.
Okay, so they give us a bill, and whatever we pay brings us to the 72.85.
The 72.85 is the percentage funded as a whole for everyone.
Okay,
Your total OPEB liability is 29.3 million. Then that's just, and if you don't understand what OPEB is, that's other post-employment benefits. That liability is calculated based on an implicit rate subsidy, which means your retirees are in the plan. If they weren't in the plan, your cost would be a little different, and so there's a liability attached to that.
and teacher retirement is not here because that's held with the state.
Correct.
This is only our municipal employees, some in the Board of Ed, some in the town, but not the teachers or
Not the
administrators.
teachers. Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions on the financial statements before I move on to the single audits? Okay.
Everybody?
So we issue two separate reports. One is on the federal awards, and then one is on the state financial assistance. So the town of Southington spent $6.3 million on federal awards during the fiscal year. The programs that we tested were the Education Stabilization Fund and your ARPA grant. What we're required to test with those grants, the town of Southington was in compliance, so you have an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, and no findings to report to you. Then on the state single audit side, state assistance came in at 35.7 million. We tested 3 grants on the state side, the LOTSIP grant, Town Aid Road, and Urban Action Grant. Again, all those 3 programs were clean opinions and no findings to report to you on the internal controls. I did put in one management letter recommendation that I want to briefly touch on, just because the audit was late this year, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't say something about the lateness of the audit. However, the finance office had gone through a tremendous amount of turnover during that time. In my experience, in the 30 years I've been auditing, usually this takes a lot longer for people to catch up. I feel that the finance office knew they needed help. They sought the help. They got it done within the the 6-month extension period from OPM. So I think that's a testament to Chrissy and her team for being able to do that. So now that she's not, drinking from a fire hose, now it's time to plan ahead. We recommend that the town continue her efforts and the finance office's efforts to strengthen that fiscal year-end close process so that they can, in fact, issue on time by December 31st.
Can I just make a comment on that? Given that I work around the state, I saw last year that only maybe 70 plus towns actually met the December 31st deadline. And there's a lot of towns that were outside the scope, right? Would you agree?
Since COVID,
Yeah.
there's so many.
Yeah.
And there's so many who don't have finance directors right now that there's turnover. There's quite a bit that don't make the deadline now.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. It's not a Southington thing. It's statewide.
Yes. Okay. As far as required communications, I did want to mention that there was 2 new standards for 2025, GASB 101, which was quite a lift for Board of Ed and town in terms of getting that information together. That was related to compensated absences, and then GASB 102 on certain risk disclosures did not apply to the town. There was no difficulties encountered during the audit. We work very well with both parties, and their finance office is very helpful. Within the financial statements, there are significant estimates that I am required to share with you. 2 of those significant estimates, one is on total OPEB liability, and one is on incurred but reported claims within the Internal Service Fund on health benefits. The OPEB liability is based off actuarial values, right? So if those assumptions change, so does the number. That's why it's a significant estimate. And then incurred but not reported claims. We don't know necessarily what those claims will be, but there's an assessment that's done by your consultants to estimate that liability.
Leslie, was GASB 101 part of the fiscal year 2025?
Yes.
And what did that call upon us to do?
So that called upon accumulating data, historical data on how people are using their time. So we had to go back at least 3 years to look at who is using their time while they're still employed, who's using their time, or who's saving their time.
So it's like
until they're
vacation, sick, and other?
retired. Yes, all types of pay is incorporated into that standard. But the change was we used to record them only if they got paid out, if they left on June 30th, and now there's the belief that, well, you're gonna use that time while you're employed, so maybe we should add that liability as well.
Okay.
No, as I said, there was no disagreement with management. There was 2 uncorrected misstatements. Both us and the town decided these were immaterial instances and therefore not required to be booked. There was a beginning balance effect on the new GASB 101 standard. We flowed that through the fiscal year. And then there is, or could be, an allocation of that implicit rate subsidy liability that could go into the sewer fund, but the town mostly pays for that, so there was an agreement that that was not a material aspect of an allocation to make. And there was no independence issues, between the town and CLA. We have 2 Government Accounting Standards Board standards that are coming down the pike for fiscal year '26. One is on GASB 103, that will affect your enterprise fund. It really just shifts some things on the P&L, on the operating revenues versus non-operating revenues. There's also some changes in the management's discussion and analysis that the finance department prepares, and we will give them a list to make sure that they incorporate those into the ACFR. There's also some changes with component units, but that doesn't apply to Southington. The next standard is 104 on disclosures of certain capital assets. Because we as auditors do prepare the financial statements, or assist the town in preparing the financial statements, we will do this GASB for you. As long as we have the information, we're just gonna be segregating that footnote out a little bit more than we usually have, so there's not a big lift there on that one. I've also given you the QR code. We have webinars that we do, updating you guys on any trends. We also have articles that are very helpful to you on any new and upcoming things that are going on in the industry, so take a look at those when you have time. And I'm open for any questions.
Can we look at those too, or is that just the finance department?
No, everyone can.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Please do.
Any questions?
So Leslie, if you had to rate the town of Southington at a 4-point scale, how they do?
Wow, that's a really tough question to ask. I think town of Southington is doing very well financially.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the guidance you provide. I know, in part of the independence, there's a line there, but also reaching over and giving a little guidance, helping our staff, even the past staff, the past group of finance directors. Your firm has always been helpful, not only doing the audit and remaining independent and objective, but also sometimes offering a little bit of help, guidance, and advice that makes the relationship a comfortable relationship.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the closeout of the DePaulo school audit. Is that you, Chrissy?
So recently, the finance department was in contact with our state auditors, and we wrapped up the final audit for DePaulo. This has been going on, I believe, since 2017. When we received the draft final audit report, it came in that we had $1,663,000 in ineligible costs. So our department worked very diligently going through all of the hundreds of boxes that we have in our office and going back through meeting minutes. So we got that $1.6 million number down to $314,000. So with our final audit report back, we will be receiving about $2.6 million back to the town. So in looking through our books, we have about 1 million booked in AR. So I have to do a little bit more researching and figuring out how we had this project originally budgeted, whether it was from grant money or bonding. So I'm not really sure where the additional 1.6 will go, if it will go back to general fund or what, but I will keep you updated on
But that should have been closed years ago, right?
Yeah, so this is one of 4 school projects that I walked into when I came into the town.
Yeah. And the other one got solved too, to the favorable.
Yes, so,
It went from being unfavorable to the favorable because, I guess Josh, right? Josh
Yes.
rolled up his sleeves in the basement.
yes,
I mean, that's really something. People need to know. People offer an awful lot of criticism of sometimes town government and, but sometimes, a lot of times, things are done really hard, really well, and a lot of effort, a lot of smarts go into things, and things come out excellent. So, I mean, I think we're closing 2 audits that came to us almost in a position of a liability, where we would have expenses that were not approved by the state, and we get stuck with them from the allocation that we thought we'd get, to actually them saying, uh-oh, it's the other way around. I mean, that takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, and I think we're every one of us appreciative.
yes, I am too. Very tedious work, and I'm proud
And the
of
staff, right? It's always
Yep.
staff.
So thank you to my team.
That's excellent. And what was our surplus? I didn't even look at the surplus in 2025 when Leslie was talking. Do you remember? Because now that's committed, right? Now that this audit's over, that surplus is
I believe it was around 2.4.
2.4 million. So 2.6 from the closeout of the Apollo and 2.4 from the closeout of the 2025 year. But I think people have to realize too that when we close with a surplus, in a way it's by design, because we have to bump up our rainy day fund, because our rainy day fund says that we have to keep 11% of revenue in the rainy day fund. So every time our budget goes up, say our budget goes up, what was it going to go up? It was going to go up like $10 million this year. We would have had to put 1.1 million right to our rainy day fund. So we don't budget to build a rainy day fund. We design it where we get a surplus, and the surplus gets us there. So it's a little bit by design, not happenstance, that we get a surplus. So, but we do need it, because as the budget goes up, the 11% goes up, and the rainy day fund has to grow. And again, not a budgeted item, so we grow it by counting on a surplus. Good. Okay, self-insurance update. Joe, anything, you're self-insurancing it?
So included in your packets, I provided the expenditures and claims through June 30th. We ended the year on a really good note. We have about almost 3.3 million under what was budgeted for claims. So we ended the year really strong.
And we were below prior year
I'm
for
sorry.
claims. We were below prior year for claims, correct?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Wow.
Yep. So we're still working on finalizing everything. It's been busy the last few weeks trying to, pay all of our final invoices and everything. But right now, our ending cash balance is about 2.9 million.
That's great.
Okay, no, any questions? All right, I know our fiscal year just began. Can I ask for unanimous consent that I don't think we have any issues with revenue and expenditures because we're only a couple weeks in. Can I ask anybody, we could just skip these first two items of the fiscal assessment because the fiscal year just began?
So moved.
No?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we just don't need to go there. It's too soon. That's the point where we say, hey, how are revenues going versus budget? How are expenses? We haven't even closed a month, through 2 weeks. Okay, the contingency line item.
Same as 1 and 2, Mr. Chair.
All right, just, we'll square that up soon. Okay, same as, that goes with 1 and 2. All right, investments. Let me slide down in my notes here.
So the interest rates are still holding steady. For short term, we're at 3.3% to 3.57. Right now, we have about 65.6 million in short term and 20.7 in long term. Long-term interest rate continues to be at 3.34%.
So we're, hopefully revenue holds that budget, because we squeezed it a bit.
It's tax season, so revenue will be coming in shortly. Hallery, our tax collector,
Yeah.
has been very busy.
Yeah, our January, July thing, right?
Yep.
But yeah, 65 million short-term and 25 million long-term. We've got a lot of money floating, and thanks to the treasurer too for doing what 100 years ago was called sources and uses, right? How much, when do we need the money? And if we don't need the money, can we invest the money? I know there's new names for it, cash flow forecasting, but sources and uses was a nice name they discontinued. But I guess it tells us what we could invest, so that's great. Okay, any questions there? Unassigned fund balance?
So for the next board meeting, I will be updating it now that I have the final audit report for FY '25. So I will
Okay.
be updating this with all of the expenditures that we have used from in FY '26. So I'll have a new one for the next.
And then we'll
meeting.
tag any single thing that somebody forecasts to use, even if it's not realized yet. And I think we all kind of wanted that, where if there's something somebody's thinking about or we're looking at something, we should put a notation in here, because this undesignated, this excess rainy day, sometimes we don't really have what we say we have because we've committed it to one thing or another, and we don't want to overcommit the same dollars to different things, nor do we want to have things in the budget in the future year in the capital plan that require this money that isn't tagged, so it really goes from unassigned to assigned. So yeah, we could sharpen our pencil next month. We could all sit down, and maybe this is another thing we really hash out so we're clear on it. So when somebody says you got money in your undesignated reserve fund, there's no ambiguity among these members here, our members, that we're comfortable with what the number we have in there, what it is, what we're planning for it, and if we're not planning anything, what that unassigned balance is. So it's a nice schedule, but we'll see it more fully next time. Okay, got it. Any other funds to discuss? Are sewer funds all right? You changed the collection, Alex? The way in which sewer bills are collected, the timing of them, everybody has their own timing, or?
So in the past, they were billed quarterly to coincide with the water rates, the water bills coming out. It was very difficult for when the water department, which is not a town of Southington entity, would get the bills over to the sewer department for billing. A lot of times, we would get it after the sewer bills had to go out. And in that case, we're not allowed to collect interest. It's the statutory interest, because you've got to publish the sewer bill notice in the local paper, and you also have to have them postmarked by the first of the month. So
Or you could never collect interest, or just for that month?
you can never collect interest on those bills,
Ever,
ever.
ever?
So now we're going to a twice a year. And we did collect interest most of the time. It was just when, if it was the water department got it out
Yep.
the day before it was due, we can't get it to the mailer that day, same day. So now we're doing it twice a year. It's saving tens of thousands of dollars in postage, which will directly benefit the ratepayers who pay those bills and the sewer charges. And it'll make it much simpler and easier for the billing of that, so that the interest will always be accrued. It'll be simple. It'll be cleaner. There was a lot of discussion at the town council level regarding the implementation of this and the publication to the public. So, and everybody's mailer bill, that's the last quarterly bill that went out, there was a very nice cardstock colored printed piece of paper that explained, hey, you are not getting a bill for 6 months. You're on a new billing cycle. There was also a lot of social media posting regarding the issue. There was a lot of town posting on the issue. So some folks have been calling saying, where's our bill? And we said, you'll get it in 3 months. But we are, so far, most of the feedback we've got from the public is thankful that they're no longer paying for all those stamps and the postage and their sewer bills.
Okay. Anything else? All right, we have our subcommittees, and I guess, haven't talked about, Mr. Pocock used to serve on Public Works and Open Space, so we have to fill his void on those. And usually, I think Public Works is one Democrat, one Republican. And I think we only have one member on Open Space, right? Doesn't matter.
Chair, I was on open space on planning and zoning, so I could just.
You'll carry on with
Carry
open
on.
space? Okay, thank you for that, Rob. Public Works, you want Public Works?
Sure.
Okay, that's a good one. I started with that one years ago. It was very insightful. So, Public Works. When we see the chair of the town council, we'll tell him. Public Works and open space. Okay, economic strike. Who's on that? Kevin on that one?
I think that's good.
Yeah, I'm not sure, usually sometimes we don't have anything. Oh, we got 1 million of these year-end closeout administrative business, but let's keep going here. I do think we need our fire commissioner liaison role put back in place because there's a lot going on. There's that permission to apply for the SAFER grant going on. There's Company 5 building in a flood zone. Like, there's stuff that could have financial implications. I don't expect us to go figure out how to put out a fire prevention or suppression, but certainly things that come with money, we should be a little closer to. So if anybody, has that strong desire to go to, you don't have to go to every meeting. It's not an assignment per se. It's more of a liaison. So you just be that person who represents the fire department to this board. Because even as we went through the budget, that linkage wasn't strong, and we sometimes here didn't really know clearly what was going on in the fire department. We had to call the chief a lot, or Mitch on the computer systems and other things. So I think we do have to strengthen that. So I'll leave it there. We'll talk about it maybe next time. We got a lot of stuff on our agenda. Any more board communicate, I'm sorry, we'll go to public communications. Anybody from the public like to speak? Okay. Having a lot of public, but nobody wants to speak, that's okay. Board communications, member to member?
If I could, I just wanted to note that Steve Salerno is not here this evening because his mother-in-law passed away, so I just wanted to extend our condolences to Steve's family.
Yeah, thoughts to Steve, his mother-in-law. Always difficult, and, we should really just take a moment, not just maybe in honor of Steve and his mother-in-law, but for everybody. There's a lot of people in our community that are suffering with different things, whether it's illness in the family, death in the family, illness with children, which is, I think, the worst. We should just take a moment to recognize, as we're sitting up here doing our business in a very business-like mode, that there are a lot of people suffering. So let's just take a minute and just think of that and never forget the folks. Thank you. Okay, any other member-to-member board communications? Town department comments, anything from department? Okay, that was a section we put in if there was a department, any department that wanted to come forward and say, hey, let me tell you what we're doing, or let me tell you where we might be short on money, or let me tell you where we appreciate having some money. It just gave them a little voice of the departments, whether it be community services, IT, highway parks, whoever. And so everybody should know that they're welcome to come. There are no presentations tonight. So we have some administrative items, and Rob, for you, the administrative business is stuff where the money's been received, and we just have to appropriate it back to the right line item. There's nothing really to think about there. It's akin to somebody made a donation, and it sits in the general fund, and we have to give it to the cause that they donated it to, that department, that cost center, and that line item. Or one of our vehicles gets in an accident, we get the insurance claim, sits in our general fund, and we have to appropriate it back to, let's say, the police department, to vehicle maintenance. You know, that's the kind of thing you'd find in administrative business. There's consent agenda, as we say. So I'd like to take all three together. I'll read them, and then we'll take them up as one. So appropriation of the 25-26 year for $670 for special revenue youth outside programming. Number two is an appropriation of the 25-26 year for $682,277.74 for the general fund to Board of Ed pre-K and special ed tuition fees. And then we have an appropriation 2026-27 for $54,699 for the Calendar House, the Dial-A-Ride grant.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved, second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed. That carries 4-0. Now there are a load. This is our typical year-end list. That's why I'm really glad everybody's here, and Chrissy probably is too, right?
Sorry, Chrissy.
That you can close out the year. So I'll try and go quickly through them, and we'll just see if we can do them quickly. They're all in our packet. Let's see if we can get it done, okay? Let me just start by saying they're all a bunch of them are 25-26, so here we go. 2025-26 year of transfer, general fund, highway parks, contracted services, $14,350.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Number two, transfer 2025-26 fiscal year, $1,050 general fund, highway parks, on-call meals.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Number three, department transfer, $300, highway parks, uniform cleaning to meal allowance.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Number four, department transfer 2025-26, $15,895, highway parks, ground maintenance to gasoline.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Department transfer 2025-2026, $7,680, highway parks, contracted services to utilities.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next one, department transfer 2025-26, $4,000 even, general fund, highway parks, building maintenance to refuse.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Department transfer 2025-26, $600, building maintenance to contracted services.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll save you, Joe.
I'll skip discussion. If you want to discuss, just
Can
interrupt.
we group them or no?
What?
Can we group them? You just have to read them,
I
right?
still have to read them, so, let's group them. How about we group them all, we'll group them down to 16 and we'll turn the page. How's that? Okay. I'll read them. They're all from 2025-26. $775, ground maintenance to program supplies. $333, uniform cleaning to overtime. $3,500, contracted services to overtime. $16,696, ground maintenance to overtime. $2,185, highway parks equipment maintenance to overtime. $2,880, highway parks building maintenance to overtime. $3,043, highway parks vehicle maintenance to overtime. $1,305, highway parks office supplies to overtime. $3,469, highway parks tools and equipment to overtime. We have a motion on 8 to 16.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Down to 32.
Yeah, we'll take them down to 32. That'll be the end of the 2025-26. So these are all 2025-26 fiscal year. We'll go 17 to 32. Highway parks downtown renovations to overtime, $3,149. $205, animal control regular wages to overtime. $800, animal control building maintenance to office supplies. $2,500, animal control to regular wages to animal control utilities. $200, police, regular wages to dispatch longevity. $3,100, regular wages to police utilities. $20,118.49, regular wages to police utilities. $8,500, engineering contracted services, town line sewer. $2,969.05, finance, office supplies to regular wages. $500, general fund, overtime to regular wages. $200, finance department, longevity to regular wages. $331.47, finance department, dues and conferences to regular wages. Another transfer, $4,119.42, town clerk, microbinding to regular wages. $509.57, general fund, town clerk, dues and conferences to regular wages. $7,732.84, general fund, IT, mobile communications to regular wages. And department transfer, $495.57, general fund, community services, temporary seasonal. Those were all department transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, next group.
Maybe 33 through 35.
Look at that. All right, we'll do the ones on that we could see on the page, 33 to 46. Now we're into the 2026-27. Oh, do them separate?
I think 33 to 35.
Yeah.
And then we'll take the next group. Because we have department transfers and we have carry forward, so we do 33 to 35. And then
Okay, all right, yeah. Because the rest are carry forwards, got it. Department transfer 2026-27, $6,000. Finance, office supplies to postage. Department transfers, $5,000. Assessor, office supplies to subscriptions. And a department transfer, $1,600. Assessor, office supplies to postage.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now we have the carry forwards. These are funds not spent that we're carrying forward to the new year. So we'll take them from 36 to 46 and then turn the page where we have a slew more. Carry forward into fiscal year 26-27, $5,183, general fund, Board of Ed, Phase 3 building. $4,029, general fund, Board of Ed, Southington High School athletic facility. $87,978.25, general fund, Board of Ed, non-lapsing. $92,015, general fund, Board of Ed, non-lapsing. $6,600, general fund, Board of Ed, non-lapsing. $88,190, 53 cents, general fund, Board of Ed, non-lapsing. $121,657.76, general fund, Board of Ed, non-lapsing. And $65,910.30, general fund, assessors, revaluation services. $4,051.91, assessors office supplies, $13,918.69 economic development contracted services, and $24,500 even economic development promotions.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on any of those? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're on to the final page of them.
79.
What?
Take it to 79.
We'll take it all. Okay, they're all carry forwards into fiscal year 26, 27. That means from the current, last year to this year, the 25, 26 to 26, 27. And I'll read them. 20,300 general fund economic development to promotions. 21,050 town council program services for the America 250 celebration. 33,033.27 town hall building maintenance. $3,355 calendar house building maintenance. $514.35 calendar house equipment maintenance. $78.65 calendar house program services. $3,080 calendar house building maintenance. $17,370 fire department training services. $16,294.58 fire department contracted services. $18,000 even fire department building maintenance. $8,405.53 fire department vehicle maintenance. $4,508 fire department uniforms and shoes. $50,000 even fire department fire equipment. $12,000 even fire department air packs. $700 even fire department equipment and furniture. $14,000 even engineering department contracted services. $11,276.87 engineering equipment maintenance. $19,914.58 engineering contracted services. $43,197.12 engineering contracted services. $14,000 even general fund library professional services. $1,200 library books and multimedia. $510 library other professional services. $11,000 even general fund town manager professional services. $10,000 general fund town attorney other professional services. $10,000 general fund police vehicle maintenance. $6,500 general fund police command vehicle connectivity. $5,000 general fund police school and education. $175,000 sewer fund water pollution control plant maintenance. $70,000 even sewer fund water pollution control sewer maintenance. $147,937 water pollution control sewer major maintenance. $352,536.50 water pollution control environmental assessment. $319,279.70 water pollution control manganite feed system. Carry forward, $3,464.20 sewer fund legal fees.
So moved.
Okay, so moved. Second, we have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion on any particular item? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, okay, turning the page. No vote. Any other business? Adjourn. Our favorite motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 8:20. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it, and I think the town staff really appreciates it, because all this stuff you could close out the year.
John, that was impressive.